بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الخلق أجمعين. In today's session, I'd like you to focus with me because even if it is difficult, but you should, by frequent reading and preparation and reading again and revision, things will be nice. Things will be fine. So, our purpose, our target in this lesson is to make several points clear or understandable to students. At the end of the session, of today's session, you should be familiar with how many? 5 points. Should be familiar with 5 points. Maybe at the beginning they are not clear, difficult somehow, but again, what I need from you is patience, reading, revision, and things will be fine, inshallah. The first point is to be familiar with a historical survey, to speak about history now of the new world. What is the new world? New world means America, and America, is it United States? Of course, no. We speak about the continent, the continent, the whole continent or 2 continents, because until now, we imagine, from the beginning, we imagine that they are what? They are rough countries or continents. So what is the new world which we need to understand or to get ideas about? Next point is we need to be familiar with the nature of primitive literature. We have literature, and this literature at the beginning, originally we call it primitive, because it is not developed, it is not progressed, it is not clear as it is now. We have examples like the oral and its different types. Oral, the beginning of any literature, mostly is what is oral, can be used as oral. Okay? Then the third point is we need students to be familiar with some rural tribes discovered in the New World. Rural tribes, like what? Like Aztecs, Kurds, Mohegans, Picotus, Utes, and Iroquois. These are the primitive or original or native tribes discovered in this country, in this continent, let's say, in fact. Another point students should be familiar with is we need to be familiar with some genres of simple or primordial or primal literature. Like what? Like orature. What is orature? I need you to understand the meaning of orature. Tempo, briefs, courteous letters or letters of courteous. Courteous messages, the same is the meaning is the same. We speak about one idea. Then the Nahota language. What do we know about that? And what this language, what did it do to be an example of what? Of literature. Going to our topic, an overview of American literature. Again, as I said, we need to realize, we need to understand the points mentioned earlier to make our understanding in a good way, an easy way. From the Northern Anthology of American Literature, I mean these points taken from this source, the Northern Anthology of American Literature. Very interesting one. Very rich in history and literature, okay, and in other social aspects or connected with aspects of life. So the title here, Banat, is what, as we know, overview beginning to 1700. Beginning, it means from the 14th century. Almost, we can say that it is from the 14th century. Let's start. Let's try to understand ideas as we can. Columbus voyage to the Americas. Americas means the two continents, began the exploitation of native population by European imperial powers. So it is a sort of what? Exploitation. A sort of exploitation. Exploitation. What is that? Means getting something, okay, with a specific benefit. By whom? By the European imperial powers. But we need not think of the intellectual exchange between the two hemispheres. The two hemispheres mean the two components as being entirely into one direction. They are going in different directions. Clear? They are going in different directions. A Taino Indian whom Columbus seized and trained as a translator and named later on Diego Colon in Spain, had as much to say to his people upon his return to the Caribbean in, look to the date, 1394. It means the beginning, not the beginning, the end of the 15th century. The end of the 15th century. So again, what is written in green is important to realize. Who is the first person? We had it. Who is he? A Taino Indian. What is Indian? What do you mean by Indian? Indian is the red Indian, the native person of America. It is called Indian because Columbus, when he traveled, okay, he did not want to go to America. He wanted to go to India and to find another way, another track, another road, okay, for what? For the ships instead of the original known road at that time. But instead of going east, he went west. And he discovered this Taino Indian, the original one. Then he later on called him Diego Colon. He called him with another name and trained him with the language and activities to be done. Okay? So as Columbus did the same, Columbus, when he returned home, he did the same. He told his family and friends, Ferdinand and Isabella, after his triumphant first expedition. Here is a sort of what? Gathering people. If you say that people, when they sit together, when they meet, they are talking, speaking like a narration to tell about their works. What did they achieve? What did they do? Like a narration. It is an oral story. Until now, it is not written. Nothing is written. The new world that Columbus posted off to the Spanish monarchs, to the Spanish king and queen in 1500. 1500 means the beginning of the 16th century. Again, underline the new word, because it is important to realize what we need, okay, to understand is the new word means America, the new discovered land. In this time, 1500 was neither an expanse of empty space or a replica of European culture. No, it is not that. Culture, tools, textiles, and religion. But what? It is a combination of native Europeans and African people, okay, living in complex relation. What kind of complex relation? Because they are different cultures, different traditions, different religions, different habits. Okay, there is what we say complexity. So how many nations are there? There are three nations. The Europeans, we call them the invaders or the colonizers. Then the native people, the native, and the African people. What we know about the African people? Until now, we have nothing. We know nothing about them. These are the African people brought from Africa as slaves to work in the new land, okay, invaded, okay, by the Europeans. So again, living in complex relation to one another. The sort of living is not easy. It is not easy among them. After early wonder and awe at their unexpected discovery to inhabit land, those are the Europeans, of course. The Europeans used their technological edge in weaponry. Yeah, because they are developed, they have weapons, they used their hegemony, power, weapon to subject the land, okay, like gunpowder and steel to subject or to conquer the region. It is a means of what? Of invasion. The Europeans were aided in this task by what? By the host of diseases. And it is important to shed light on this indirect help, indirect aid. What is it? The host of diseases. How can that be? The Europeans, when they came with their own diseases. And the Native Americans, the Red Indians, okay, their bodies are weak because they are accustomed to something, and something new has happened to them, and they have no what we call protection, no protection against the new diseases to be brought by what? By the European. So had brought from the old world, had brought came from the old world. Pardon. Against which early Americans had no immune resistance. They have no control. Like now, if you put the example in front of you, in front of your eyes, we can say that Corona, when it happens, it attacks the world. The world had no immune resistance at the beginning, but now, okay, within 2 years, the matters become what? Become much better. And these diseases, like what? Like the smallpox, the measles, and typhoons, they killed people, many people, native populations, and in response to the lack of local labor force, the Spanish began importing African. Yeah. So now there are three what you call nations, three different multi-diverse nations: the Europeans or the invaders, the Red Indians or the native, then the slaves or the Negro or the African who came to take their place, thereby compounding genocides with slavery. But by no means were natives merely helpless victims. There should be a resistance. There should be power to be done. Many adopted European weapons and tactics. Some of them, they had the ability to use the weapons and tactics of the European and to use them for themselves, to defend themselves. Again, to defend themselves from the invaders. And while some collaborated with the Europeans, as did some Aztecs, here is the first tribe with Cortes Spanish force against their King Montezuma. Yeah, again, a sort of what we call conflict for specific purposes or aims or goals to be achieved. Another example is the Narragansett and the Mohegans. Narragansett and the Mohegans. with the New Englanders against the Pequoters. So Narragansett and let me find another style of writing. There is a difficulty of writing within this, what you call rated. Anyway, we try to do our best. So the New Englanders against the Pequoters, they did not, they did so not out of submission or gullibility, not because of submission of gullibility, but to gain a temporary upper hand, upper power against their rivals. They are native. Both of them. They are what? They are native. Yes. A resourceful response to an impossible situation. What is it? The tribes. Okay. Among themselves, there is conflict. When the invaders came, when the European came, they came not to help, but to get benefit for themselves. And also within the conflict between the natives against the invaders, some of the natives, they had problems among themselves as tribes. So the native cultures Columbus found in the New World displayed a huge variety of languages, social customs, creative expressions, with a common practice of oral literature. Here is the first point we needed. Here is the first step, the first K for our literature. Again, the native cultures available in this land, which is found by Columbus in the New World, as we mentioned, New World. Okay, New World means the new land, as I mentioned. Displayed a huge variety of languages. How many languages? Different, many. Again, variety of social customs. Variety of social customs available there. Social customs, creative expressions, with common practice of oral literature. Common practice of oral literature. So literature generally starts orally. To start orally, I mean, this is definite, without parallel east of the Atlantic. So no comparison. Yes, of course, we cannot compare, okay, the sort of developed time. At that time, now we speak about at that time, at the 14th and 15th centuries, not today, without parallel east of the Atlantic. East of the Atlantic means Europe and Africa and Asia. Compared to the 3,000 languages, how many languages now we find? They are almost 3,000 languages. Common religion and printed alphabet and stable boundaries of the European nation states. The native peoples were much more diverse. Diversity is there. They spoke hundreds of distantly related languages. Again, so the first beginning of literature for us to know about this historical survey is that to know that these people spoke hundreds of what? Of distantly, they are not exact related languages. They are related languages, but they are not exact. And widely differ in their social organization. They are what? Again, different in their social organization. Every tribe, every region, every area is different in their social, what we call traditions, customs, convictions, habits. They are what? They are different. From the hunting, gathering, like nomadic youths, to the highly structured farming society of the Iroquois Confederation. We have 2 points here to realize or to understand. What are they? So nomadic youths. Nomadic means rural, and here what we have, highly structured farming society. But still, when we say farming, it's still somehow rural, but it is more developed, okay, than nomadic youths. Okay, these two cultures can be seen clearly in these pictures, two pictures. This one, the first one. Here, the first one here. Look to the first one. The first picture is undeveloped nomadic youths. The second one connected with what? With the another what we call tribe. They are more developed. See, the picture is what is seen like complicated, little complicated. The houses are different. The gathering of people are working in a different way than that. Okay, though the Iroquois never specifically occupied any part of Pennsylvania, their southern conquests from their homes in New York and southern Canada established them as the ruling supremacy over all other Pennsylvanian tribes. Speaks now about the 14th century. The and the states, the Lenin, okay, Lampe, the Chopins, the Ganouis, the Conois, and others. As President Victory Day appointed the great Indian ambassadors, Shikmi, okay, say more about within Wikipedia or the historical books of literature can show more about this situation. 8 different creation stories. It is the beginning of literature. Huh? When we speak about creation stories, we speak about literature. Have been cataloged, okay, in records. Until now, what kind of records? We have no idea about. Each attesting to the religious diversity of early America. Religious diversity of early America. However, since no native people had written alphabet, they relied instead on an oral tradition of chants, like what we have now here, al-arda. Okay, al-arda. Do we know its origin? No, it is old. Do we know who started with it? No, it's old. Nobody knows. It is anonymous, but it is what? An oral tradition of chants in Al-Baha region. Al-arda, okay. Beside others, kind of what you call songs, they are what they are historical. They are folklore. Okay. It started in oral, from mouth to mouth, from the fathers to the sons, and again from the sons to their sons, like that. The matter is similar here. The matter is similar. So relied instead on an oral tradition of chants, songs, and spoken narrative, what some critics have called orature. Here is the first point. Huh? So what is orature? What is orature? It is an oral tradition of chants, songs, and spoken narratives that some critics call it with this name for their artistic expression, because now it is what? It is an expression of literature, orature. So this is the first point to speak about this kind. So again, reading about, okay, orature, what is it? Of Aboriginal societies was based in oral tradition, best describes as orature. Individuals who were elegant, okay, eloquent, and had a strong command of the language were highly respected in native communities. They were storytellers, often storytellers, yes, the narrators, the speakers. These verbal genres like what? Tricksters' tales, jokes, meaning, and grievance chants, and also dream songs, among many others. They are called what? Literary. Now they are starting to establish literature. But as I said, the main point is in its establishment that it is organized orally, kept orally, okay, in the minds of people, in the sense that they represent the imaginative and emotional response of their anonymous authors of the native culture. Of course, people are what? Not known, anonymous authors of the native cultures. Natives means the new world, new land, okay, to be understood like that. But our Western sense of literature, now the speaker, the writer, speaks about what? The West, in comparison, is mainly derived from the effects of the written words, because the style of writing in Europe, like England, Spain, Portugal, Portugal and France, many others like Austria and other countries, yeah, the possibility of writing is there. Books are there, and has little to do with the performance issues of tempo, pauses, and intonation common to the verbal genres. Okay, so translations of orature, as we mentioned, first into English and then into the page leaves out great deal. Made the situation clear that it is a beginning, a start, okay, of establishing American literature, even in its simplest way. Exploratory expeditions to the New World quickly led to colonial settlements. The result was colonization. Colonization. Colonial settlements. احتلال. Invasion. As the major European countries vied with each other. There is a struggle, struggle and conflict or rivalry between those most famous four countries. Okay. Who are they? Spain, England, or Britain, France, and Portugal. For a portion, everyone is seeking to get something of the Western Hemisphere's what we call relics. Early voyages by Columbus for Spain, Cabot for England, Columbus for Spain, Cabot for England, Vespucci and Cabral for Portugal, mapped and claimed larger areas for later colonies. These are the most important three countries and three simple figures, okay, to start these expeditions for colonial settlements. Small settlements made on Hispaniola by Columbus. When? What time? 1493. It means again the end of the 15th century. And in Jamestown by John Smith, here the 17th century, beginning of the 17th century, by Britain. لاحظ الفرق الآن from 1493, beginning of end of the 15th century until the beginning of the 17th century. So the English people reach this new world late. So first organized and moral, numerous native adversaries, as well as internal dissent and mutiny or rebellion. They did not get everything easy. They found people to stand against them. The native people, they faced them with the adversity. Adversity means hate. Okay, not liking. The early settlers were followed by waves of better armed and equipped settlers who came to stay. These are pictures to show the beginning of these discoveries or expeditions. When they arrive, they start to use their banners or logo or flags in these lands, showing that they are part of their countries, to be what? Settlement, a sort of settlement. The Spanish were most successful in establishing their empire. A question in the exams, yeah, Banat. I ask you a question, true or false, matching, completing blanks. I say that English were most successful in establishing their empire. True or false? You should realize the answer. Which by the 1540s reached from central North America and Florida southward to northern and western South America. Now, nobody answered until now. The question, the English were most successful in establishing their empire by the 1540s reached from central North America. True or false? Is it true or false? You are sleeping. Sadly to say, no one is answering. True. It is not Sarah. No, I speak about the Spanish. When you get a question, the English, it means something different. The true is the Spanish. You be careful. You should be careful with me. Huh? The Spanish were most successful, yes. But when I change the Spanish into English or Portuguese, okay, yeah, good, you are following. The only one is Sarah bin Said, following with me. Next one, I can say, huh? The Portuguese settled in eastern Brazil. The French along the St. Lawrence River in present-day Canada. Canada is called earlier the Lawrence River, huh? The St. Lawrence River. A question can be said like that. The Spanish, is it true or false? The Spanish settled in eastern Brazil. True or false? The Spanish settled in eastern Brazil. The French along the St. Lawrence River in present-day Canada. True or false? The one who said true is wrong. Reem Abdel Majid. No, it is not. It is false. Yes, Sarah. Why? Because it is not the Portuguese, but it is not the Spanish, but the Portuguese. You have to be careful about the true-false questions. They can be misleading. Okay? Here is again another picture to show the start of voyages when they reached their lands. The new land, I mean. 4 explored by Jacques Cartier and then settled 60 years later by Samuel de Champlain. Now go to the English. The English came to the new late. And this is enough a question. Here is a question by itself. When I say the English came to the New World early in the 15th century, true or false? Who can quickly answer? Early. Yes, good. False. Nice. Munajam'an Sarah Said. Yes. It is what? It is late. When I say the English came to the new late after several failed expeditions, after several tries by Walter Raleigh, Humphrey Gilbert, and Martin Frobisher. All of these, they try to reach the new world, but they reach it, but late, not as early as the Spanish and Portuguese, and even the French. Once Jamestown's colony, Jamestown is connected now to the English, okay, survived its first trial of starvation, disease, riots, and violence with the Powhatan, another tribe now, Powhatan tribe. The English expanded from this base up and down the eastern coast of North America. Yeah. Now the central point for the English people, okay, to be expanded, okay, up and down the eastern coast of North America, northern east coast, like New York, Washington, and many several places. But now, as I said, until this point in the 16th century, 17th century, United States is not available. It's not available at all. And here a question can be a question in the exams. You have to be careful about that. English settlements in New World, showing the pictures of the way of attacking, the way of invading these lands. The role of writing, and here is literature. Here is literary element. Here is literary element. The role of the writing during the initial establishments and administration of these overseas colonies involved influencing policy markets at home. It is important to put it in our minds. Justifying actions taken without their explicit permission or bearing witness to the direct and unintended consequences of European conquest to America. What is important here is this point. The role of writing during the initial means beginning, initial establishment and administration of these overseas colonies involved in influencing policies, justifying actions taken without their explicit permission, or bearing witness to the direct and unintended consequences of European conquest of America. Still at the beginning, because they are still at the beginning. The development of the printing press. One important point in dealing with what we call literature, writing in general, is the printing press. Many years before Columbus' first voyage allowed many of his descriptions of the New World to spark the national ambitions and personal imaginations of the Spanish, to attract people in Europe, that the expeditions and travel voyages, explorations of Columbus are what spark the national ambitions, to say that they are successful, ensuring new expeditions and future colonies, to try to ensure future colonies. Everyone wants to take from the cake. The long lag time between sending and receiving directions from Europe, many writings records exist as briefs. And here is the meaning of what we mentioned before, a sort of literature, starting as letters. So it is what letters, to take permission, sending messages from America, from the colonies, from St. James, for example, to England, to take permission, of some messages to be published. And we remember what? We remember the long lag time between sending and receiving. And this process of time is called, or the records are called briefs, in which Peter informed explorers attempted to adjust colonial policy, written largely in reaction to the events abroad, or justify or prejudice action taken without the crown's knowledge. As with the Cortes messages, we mentioned that before. Cortes messages or Cortes letters, the letters of the courts to Charles V, King Charles V, Al-Malik Charles Al-Khamis. And these messages about the subjugation of Asiatics. It is a sort of complaint, a kind of complaints from the courts leaders to the King Charles V. And these are written. They were written in what? They were written in a book called Letters of Courts, or courts messages, the same, this or that. If you had a question within this in the exams, it is almost the same. Writing also recorded the hideous consequences of empire means England, brought by the Europeans, many of whom reacted strongly against both unintentional infection of the natives with the other words, diseases and enslavements of the remainder for plantation labor. To sum up the point, conflict is there, hate is there, bad reaction is there. Among what? Among those writers, not writers, sorry, among those living people, inhabitants, which we can divide them into three, as we mentioned. The Europeans, the invaders, the colonizers, the natives or the original or the Red Indians, and the third is what is the imported people, slaves, caught and came as what slaves to work in this new land, the Africans. Created a sort of what we call hate, abhorrence, diversity, not diversity by the traditions, I mean adversity or hate among them. It could also be subversively, as it was anonymous. So now we speak about element of literature. The ascetic poet who lamented the fall of Mozontoma in the Nahuatl language, but in the Roman alphabet. Look now to the mix, of something brought from the world. What is it? The Roman alphabet. Its origin is what? Nahuatl language. And it is poetry. Here we see poetry. Speak about what? Lamentation. The fall of Montezuma, like a civilization, like an empire. It is what? The beginning of recording American literature. It also afforded opportunities to describe such as Diego del Castillo and John Smith. What did they do? What is the effects of them? We were born into the European underclass to reshape the possibilities of colonial life. To shape again with their own way the colonial life, the life of the colonies, of this colonization, away from hereditary privilege. And in favor of merit, they are seeking merit, talent, effort, all three of which were in short supply, high demand in the new world. Try to supply, what the demand, the new demand of new world. What is the new world to be discovered? America. And from America, we have United States of America. Here is a short survey, let's say complicated survey about overview of America, dealing with cultures, traditions, economy, social life, everything to help realizing or understanding how literature started in that time. I came to the end of this session, the first session. See you inshallah ta'ala in the coming class. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.